Hello, hello, hello!
Braden Herrington here with Davie Portman. I almost said David.
That's okay.
I always call you David or Davie. I'm sorry.
You can call me whatever, baby.
Oh, I'll remember that for later. We are your upNXT podcast hosts from postwrestling.com. But sometimes we like to talk about things that aren't wrestling. So usually if you're listening to us, you probably listen to upNXT, where we review NXT every Thursday. But we also like horror movies, so we just started because of the spooky season. It's Halloween right now as I'm talking.
And you'll seem to enjoy our Halloween review.
Yeah, we actually got a lot of feedback from that. We put out a review of Halloween, the original John Carpenter classic, and then people were like, hey, that was pretty good, I liked it. So because today is Halloween, we both had the day off, we decided to watch Halloween 2.
The original sequel.
That's right.
Not Halloween H2O.
No.
Not Halloween 2018.
No. Not even the Rob Zombie.
But the 1981 Halloween 2.
Yes, so this movie...
Wait, sorry, not the Rob Zombie one?
Yeah. I hate that one. The sequel, the Rob Zombie sequel, is like a remake of the one we just watched.
Right.
This one, and it's terrible. The 1981 classic is like the original sequel, and a lot of people who maybe kind of grew up watching these movies know this one because it kind of sets the story for the rest of the franchise because of the reveal, I guess, of the sister and brother, the siblings connection. But yeah, so we watched this one today on actual Halloween, and we're going to talk about it and all these things. So should we just get into it, I guess? I don't know.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's do it. Halloween 2, 1978 is when this movie takes place. 1981 is when this movie was made, years after the original movie was actually made. And they try to act as if it's a continuation from where the first movie actually starts. Do you think they did a good job in that aspect?
To an extent, yeah. They have some clips from the original. I feel I might be wrong. It just might be my memory fucking with me. But I feel when she's talking to the kids at the beginning of this film,
sure, it's
shot slightly differently. I feel like it's at a different angle.
You're right. From
the original. So I think they've reshot a couple of things.
Gotcha.
But yeah, in general, it just picks up straight away.
And Jamie Lee Curtis is a little older.
She's a little older, not too much different.
Right, yeah.
I think, as I said in the first review, I think all the kids look old anyway. They don't look like teenagers.
No.
And that was in the first one.
Yeah,
so,
exactly, yeah.
They still don't look like teenagers here.
Yeah, so this one, they're older. They're not supposed to be, I guess, all the victims in this one are a little bit older, but it takes place right away. Halloween, the original, it's a recap here, like David said. There's clips of the ending of the last one, which includes Michael grabbing Laurie, but Dr. Loomis comes and shoots him 6 times, which sends Michael going flying off the balcony. But then Loomis sees that the body is gone and that there's blood and there's an indent on the grass, which I don't know if that would actually happen. It's
a huge indent as well. It
Michael Myers is
bigger
huge.
than Michael Myers is.
Wow.
Forgot to mention that the film starts with Mr. Sandman.
Yes, of course. Yes, it's used a few times in this movie, and it's a creepy song. Anyways, it's a creepy track. I love that song, and very fitting. So Michael Myers is not there, and Dr. Loomis runs out into the street, and the neighbor says, "What's going on? Is this some kind of Halloween joke? I've been trick-or-treated to death tonight." And Dr. Loomis says, "You don't know what death is." And
you don't know what death is!
And then cue the intro credits, Halloween 2, and the theme plays a new synthier soundtrack.
Yeah, it's kind of Nintendo-esque.
Yeah, because it's 1981, so synthesizers were, bumping at the time, so... I'm sure
the original film uses a lot of synth as well, but this one, it's...
Right, more 80s.
It's taken up a lot more.
Yeah.
Something I liked was when he checks the body on the grass is he does see blood there.
Yes.
So Michael does bleed. We've been led to believe he's some kind of monster, but I always feel blood kind of shows that there is a human there as well.
He's pure evil. That's what he is. So the movie starts, and Michael is now watching Loomis argue with some cops. Loomis is yelling, "I shot him 6 times. We need to get him." Michael then wanders into some house where this old lady is making sandwiches for herself and her husband. He then, when she's not looking, takes away her kitchen knife and leaves. And she's watching Night of the Living Dead, which is seen throughout the rest of this movie. A lot of people are watching this on this Halloween night in 1978. He takes her knife, and this woman realizes that and is like, "Where's my knife?" And there's blood in her house. Then there's a girl in another house nearby who's on the phone.
So just one sec.
Yeah.
That knife is way too big to be making sandwiches.
Yeah, the knives in Halloween movies, in scary slasher movies, are always just giant. Like, maybe she just didn't do the dishes.
She's making a ham, mayo, and mustard sandwich, and she's got this huge fuck-off knife.
You don't use that kind of knife to make sandwiches? Oh, I've been doing... Like, does that even fit the... I don't know what she was doing, but you're right. But Michael now has a giant knife. He then uses it because there's this girl who's on the phone, and on the phone her friend is like, "Oh my god, did you hear about Michael Myers? He's killed these people in your neighborhood." And she's like, "What?" And then boom, she's stabbed to death.
I don't know if this is like a comment on the time, but how blasé was it that she was like, "Oh, his wife is always picking on him, so he probably got angry and just started beating her."
Yes, she...
Like, it's 1978 is when it's set. Like, was it... Like, it's just, oh yeah, it's just... husband probably beat her again. It's fine. Nothing to worry about there.
Yes, she hears
blasé.
She hears like a scream, and that's what she's talking to her friend about on the phone. And yeah, it's so weird. She's just a throwaway comment about a domestic abuse, essentially. Scary movies are strange. The cops and the EMTs are taking Laurie Strode away from the house. Again, set from the first movie. They take her, put her in an ambulance, and they're taking her to the hospital here. And there's an EMT named Jimmy here who says he knows Laurie because his little brother goes to school with her. So he has some sort of connection to her. Laurie keeps telling them that she doesn't want to be put asleep.
I like that, and that was an important thing throughout the rest of the movie, as we see later on. So I liked them introducing that early, that she fears she could sense the evil,
right?
Knows he's still on the loose. Knows
she just doesn't want to be,
and doesn't want to be drugged.
Of course. So she's a little shook. But then it cuts to the hospital, and there's this lady there who's with her kid. And I always remember this part watching this movie as a kid. This was the scary part for me in a weird way, because this lady is with her little kid, and the kid's mouth is bleeding everywhere. And it's because they got a razor blade in their apple. Have you ever heard of this? Have you heard of this?
I haven't, but I know that when I was growing up, there was an indoor swimming pool water slide park.
Oh God!
That got shut down because teenagers were like going down the water chutes, like stopping themselves.
Yeah.
And like attaching razor blades to the inside.
Oh my God.
So people would go down and it would just go and slice up their backs and stuff.
Why are people so cruel?
Are fucked.
Why are people so cruel?
Because I thought, like, I had to ask you what happened there.
Right.
Because I thought it was, those vampire teeth you get. And I was like, well, what's going on? I couldn't quite see it was a razor blade.
So imagine a razor blade being put in an apple, and then you hand out the apples to kids, and then when they bite into them...
And ouch, I did a bit of research on this scene, and it was saying about how John Carpenter wanted this in because it was originally going to be cut, and it was cut from the TV showings of it, which is funny because you've got way gruesome deaths in the film, but no a kid's mouth bleeding. But he was like, he wanted to show the other horrors that are going on. We're focusing on one thing, and that goes into the whole anthology premise that he originally wanted to have.
Yes.
Which leads to Halloween 3.
Which I'll never watch ever again.
I still haven't seen yet, and I will watch. But there's a character in there, apparently, who is fixing up kids' Halloween masks. Right. So it fucks with them.
Right.
So this is kind of a little Easter egg almost to what they're going to do in the next film.
Well, also, what a cruel world where people put razor blades in apples.
Yeah.
It's also quoted in the song Halloween by the Misfits, they say it.
It's hard enough to get kids to eat fruit anyway.
It's probably scared kids back in the day. Like, I'm not eating no stranger's apple. Like, that's fucked.
I'll stick with my potato chips. I know exactly what's in that.
Yeah. Check your Halloween candy. Remember, parents, check your kids' Halloween candy. Don't let them eat razor blades. Fuck that. Loomis is with Sheriff Brackett, originally from the first movie there, and they think they see Michael Myers walking down the street. So Loomis freaks the fuck out, pulls out his piece, pulls out his gun, and goes to shoot him, but Sheriff Brackett's like, hold on, how do we know it's him?
I fucking love Loomis's gun. It's just so funny all the time. Do you ever watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
I've seen it, yeah.
You know, Frank just always whips his gun out. Loomis is Frank from Always Sunny. He's Danny DeVito.
It is a little dinky gun, too. It's like waving it around. He pulls it out, but Sheriff Brackett stops him, and it's not actually... Well, they think it's Michael, and they chase him off into the street, and as he's... the Michael is looking... A cop car comes and hits him, sending the body flying into another car, and there's just this giant explosion, and it burns Michael into this.
Now, this cop was driving like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
His sirens weren't on or anything. He wasn't chasing anyone. He was just bombing it down this residential, probably 30 miles an hour street. Bombing it.
So they think they killed Michael Myers. Now, watching this, you're like, hey now, that's not Michael. We know what Michael looks like, and it's just something was a little off from it.
It's a bit smaller.
Yeah, we know it wasn't him, but they think it was. So they send it off to the coroners, I guess, because they need to find out if this was in fact him. It cuts to like the original house here, and the news and like the media and all these cops are covering all the original dead bodies from the first movie. And cameo here is a young Dana Carvey, which is very funny because Dana Carvey goes on to become a famous comedian actor who goes on Saturday Night Live. And his famous claim to fame, I would say, is a skit he does with Michael Myers.
Oh, I see.
Wayne's World.
Yeah.
So it's very funny that Dana Carvey is in a Michael Myers cameo years before probably even knowing Mike Myers.
Yeah.
Strange. So Dana Carvey's in a blue hat. If you ever watch Halloween 2, look for it here. And some people were tweeting us, I believe, saying like, look out for this. But I do know that it was him. So they realized that Sheriff Brackett's daughter, Annie, was one of the victims from the house here, so they have to go tell Sheriff Brackett, and you know he's not going to be happy about that. There's some kid dressed as a cowboy, and he's walking around with a boombox just listening to the news about the gruesome murders going on, like a news talk station, and he bumps into Michael. So we know Michael's alive and wasn't actually killed.
But also, from bumping into Michael, Michael hears the location of Laurie Strode.
It says that Laurie Strode, yes, the survivor's been taken to the Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, blah, blah, blah. So Michael now starts walking to the hospital. I don't know how far this hospital is, because Michael Myers always walks slow.
It's a small town.
Yeah.
What did you think of Brackett's reaction to finding out his daughter died?
If someone told me that my daughter died, I'd like lose my shit and cry and
he was
break
so
down.
like straight to action, jump in the car. Like I found it odd. It kind of jarred with me because I don't feel like you would react to that. I know this is a horror film and this, but
he's upset. Yeah, you're right. He's like
it wasn't like it would take you a moment for it to actually sink in. Sorry, what? My daughter? What?
Yeah,
it's like your daughter's one of the bodies, and he's like, oh, let's get in the car and drive.
So then he also leaves and says he has to be the one to tell his wife. He doesn't want her to find it. I'm just saying, like any like close death like that and like it's like messed up, it's killer. Yeah, I'd be a little bit more broken. I'd say
in denial, not being able to move.
Also, if you're like this guy, and this is his exit from this movie. Essentially, we don't see him again because he's off dealing with this. But he's a cop. If I'm like this cop from the first one and I just found out my daughter is killed and Michael Myers is still alive, well, I'm going to try to kill Michael Myers.
Yeah.
But they also think Michael Myers is dead now. because they killed him. So maybe that's why. I don't know. You're right. I would be more crushed if I just found out my daughter died of like gruesome murders and shit. So yeah. It cuts to the EMTs that took Lori to the hospital. They're hanging out in like the lounge area of the hospital. And I'm pretty sure one of these guys are using like these medical scissors as a roach clip to finish his joint.
It's like the things you see in films and TV shows where they're pulling out bullets that are like lodged in the shoulder.
Yeah.
Like the
things people use, like these like weird scalpel scissor things, but he's using it as a roach clip, so I appreciate that. And also, like, how is he getting away with smoking weed in a hospital?
It's the 70s, baby.
Yeah, I guess so. Lit. So this guy's just chilling, and they're hanging out, and they're all talking, and Jimmy is there as well. But Michael is shown nearby, and he's like on the premises of this hospital. But there's like this fat security guard dude, and he doesn't.
Why are they always fat?
Well, because he's like lazy, essentially. Yeah. In H2O, it's LL Cool J. So I would rather LL Cool J. He's just licking his lips all the time. So the guard doesn't see him, but he is also watching Night of the Living Dead. It cuts to Karen, and she's like this nurse who shows up, and she's flirting with the other EMT, like the kind of the dickhead one who was smoking the weed. He sings to her, "Amazing Grace, come sit on my face," and basically scares her in one of the empty hospital rooms here. And she says, like, "Get out of here." And he says, "Hey, why don't you meet me later on?" So that may or may not happen. But now it shows that Michael is actually in the hospital. He's here. It cuts to Lori with Jimmy, and Jimmy explains to her that Michael Myers was the one that was after her because he was listening to the news and looking it up. And she says, like, why is this Michael Myers guy?
That kid from all those years
Yeah,
ago?
she's like, what, the guy who like killed his sister like years ago? Why would this guy be after me? And they just can't figure it out. But the nurse comes in and kicks Jimmy out and tells Lori that, hey, like, we've taken you to the hospital. You've survived this crazy murder spree. And we can't get a hold of your parents. Like, it's weird. Your parents, they didn't respond. They should have been, like, we don't know where they are.
And we never do learn.
No, we never do. In the Halloween remake, Rob Zombie, he definitely lets you know what happened to the parents.
Yeah, I wonder whether this was deliberate or whether it was revealed and it's something like on the cutting room floor.
Sure, right.
Like, it makes sense that they'd be killed. It's odd that you never find out because the fact you've introduced the idea of the parents into it seems an odd thing to not pay off. It's
in the zombie.
You feel like you just wouldn't mention it.
In the zombie version, it's pretty scary actually. The scene it shows what happens. He like busts into their house and like basically kills the parents here, and before he kills them, lets them know he's after Lori, like with a photo or something. Sweet. It's pretty gruesome. So here they're like, hey, we can't get a hold of your parents. We don't know what's gonna happen, and then the phone cuts out. Their phones are down at the hospital, which they're very concerned about. It goes now...
Considering this guy has been locked up since he was a kid.
Right.
Like, I don't know where I'd find the phone lines in this place.
Right, yeah.
He's very good. He, like, knows how to drive. He knows how to cut phone lines and stuff.
And he walked all the way to the hospital.
Yeah.
So he's...
He knows his shit.
Yeah. He's no jobber. He knows what he's doing. He's a skilled, slasher, as we would learn. But you're right. How the fuck? Also, cell phones in the future would solve so many fucking issues. Like, oh, we can't reach anyone? Well, let's figure it out.
Mine wouldn't. It's never worked.
Well, that's because you're an Android. So the phones are cut. It cuts now to the fat security guard. He's checking on why the phones are dead because the nurses are like, hey, go figure this shit out, man. So he's looking around and he finds this room and a cat jumps out at him.
I feel they use this cat scare in every Halloween film following this, at least in the original series.
Right, okay.
There's always like...
There's fake scares.
Yeah. They don't really do the fake scares in the first one that I can remember. But feel this is the first fake scare. I definitely remember there being some sort of cupboard in a later one where there's a noise and they open it and a meow, a cat runs out.
Of course, always. There's always the cats jumping out. Well, the cat jumps out and scares the security guard. He's a little scared and he buzzes the hospital gate on his walkie, and he says back to the nurses, he thinks someone broke in to the security offices or whatever offices there, but his connection's getting lost. He tells them to go to the police station. He's like, hey, go drive over there and get someone to come over here because our phones are down. But they didn't hear him say that because their walkie starts to cut out. And this is where he goes into another closet here. But it's all nothing in there. It's all garbage. He thinks he hears something again. So he opens the closet door. There's nothing there. As he closes it, Michael is standing there and has a hammer, but it's turned backwards, and smashes it, bashing it into the top of the security guard's head.
This was, I found this the most gruesome death.
Really?
Just the sound it made.
Crunching. What would
and you see it, and...
Dead. This guy's dead. The back of a hammer to the top of your head.
I don't know if I should say this or not, but when I was a kid, I went to school with a guy. He was the year above me. And his dad had just come out of, mental hospital.
Right.
And murdered the kid this way.
Oh my God. Jesus.
This was 1996, 1997.
Oh, awful.
So yeah, this kind of death, sticks with me.
Right.
And just that noise. I think sound is so great in these kind of movies to get something, and it's just that dull thud.
It's like a thud. Because it's the sharper, flat, the back of a hammer, not the actual hammer head part, the back of it. And he swings it on him, kills him, boom, dead.
Grim.
We now go to Dr. Loomis. He's with the cops in the coroner's office, or the morgue, if you will, and they're going over the body of who they think is Michael Myers. But they go over, the body's burned to a crisp, so they are going off the teeth. And the doctor here, or whatever, says... the person here is a male, either 17 or 18 years old. And Loomis says, well, that can't be Michael because Michael is 21. They say, no, well, it has to be him. He says, no, it can't be. So the cop here, the new sheriff that we have as the main police officer, Gary Hunt, he says, listen to Loomis. So they do. They're bros now. They go over to the Myers house, where now the community of Haddonfield is trashing and rioting because they're angry that this man has killed all these people. Continuing on from the first movie there, Loomis is talking to the cop here when two kids run up to them, and they report to Sheriff Hunt here that their friend, Ben Tramer, has gone missing. They all went drinking and they can't find him. He says, how old is your friend? They say 17 years old. He was wearing a mask and he was real drunk.
And as you remember from Halloween 1, we hear about Ben Tramer.
Right, my favorite character. So he was the one that Laurie was kind of into. Yeah. But we never got to see him. Well, we still don't get to see him except he gets hit by a car and explodes in a fiery death.
And the cop walked out fine from that, by the way. The cop blew up. Didn't see him coming. Anyway, was that him? What's going on, guys? That guy needs to lose his license and job. Seriously.
That cop is fucked. This is a scary movie.
Whoopsie.
Oh, that guy came out of nowhere. Oh, it was Michael Myers.
He reminds me of Peter Griffin in Family Guy, when he comes home drunk all the time, he just crashes into the tree and just gets out and is like, hi Lois, I'm back. It's like that. Poor kid. I also like in these films, everyone they talk about has full names. They're talking about Eddie Lee and stuff like that. It's one of those things I don't recall ever doing. Sure, I've got Matt Ross.
It's the 70s.
Okay, he's Matt Ross, but
it's
everyone's
the 70s.
oh, David Porter and Braden Herrington.
Oh, hello, David Herrington. Hello. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't have the same charm. But it's the 70s. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe things are different. Things were more formal. Also, in like horror movies, these Halloween movies, people are fascinated about the different kills and we should, if we do more horror movies, we should do a kill count for every, kill.
Oh, I put a kill count.
Oh, okay, good. Because this one doesn't count. The cop killed them.
Yeah.
This isn't a Michael Myers death. This is an innocent death. Ben Tramer died an innocent man.
But could you blame it on Michael Myers because he was wearing the same mask?
I don't know.
No, the guy was reckless.
This cop was lit on Halloween. Yeah. Fuck. All right. Well, we'll get to the kill count later on. It cuts back to the hospital, and the nurse and this guy, the dickhead EMT, they're trying to smash. They're trying to hook up in the hospital on Halloween night. They say they'll meet up in 15 minutes in their secret spot. So we'll see if that leads to them doing that later on. Lori now is in her hospital bed, and she's just sitting there all sad and all alone in the night. And she's having weird flashbacks to when she was younger as a kid. And it's strange because it's showing like her mom being like, "I'm not your real mother," and like weird like flashbacks here. It's strange because this short clip and the other one that follows later on in the movie are what spawns so many sequels and things that are like, this is where we went with this direction. Yeah. This is strange. A weird flex.
And what's odd is Laurie never actually learns in this film.
No, you don't see her.
Considering that this was meant to be the end of the story.
Right.
You would think you'd let your protagonist learn that the killer is...
Right.
Your brother.
They eventually learn elsewhere.
Like Loomis learns,
right?
But no one else does.
Very strange.
Yeah. It's like Darth Vader telling Chewie that he's Luke's father. Doesn't quite have the same impact, does it?
Which
is also interesting because Empire came out the year before
this movie.
This film. Do you think they borrowed from that?
They were like, hey, why don't we just make them relatives? Yeah. Very true. Probably. They're like, that was a hit. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
John Carpenter's like, fuck it, I'm already making money. Like, let's go. Let's do it, baby. John Carpenter did not...
He wrote this. He didn't direct it.
Right. All right,
Just
John
like
Carpenter.
Empire.
Right, Empire is the one Lucas didn't...
Lucas, of the originals, Lucas only directed the first one.
Right, and everyone likes Empire more than... Yeah, okay. The nurse and the EMT are now gonna get into some hot water here.
Uh-oh. See what you did there.
They're like in this like room in the hospital that's like water tanks or hot baths essentially. And they had the hot water on and they're using it as a jacuzzi and they're getting all hot and heavy here. But it's shown Michael is in the other room where the tanks are kept and he turns up the temperature a little bit. Cuts back to them and the girl's there and she gets a little naked. They get in these tubs.
I mean, you're gonna die.
You know what happens when you pull your boobs out in a scary movie? You probably die. Just saying. So she does that. She says, "Hey honey, it's getting a little hot in here." And he's like, "Oh, it's just me." She says, No, seriously, it's just too hot." So he gets out. He goes back into that glass thing, closes the door, turns it back down. She gets out, she's in a towel, and she's just kind of hanging out, fixing her hair or whatever. Hanging out naked, essentially. And we see in the foreground, where she can't hear or see unless she turned around. And Michael is there, and he chokes this guy and kills him, throws the body aside, and then turns the water back up hot. And then slowly enters the room again, walking towards her. Now she thinks it's her lover. So he gets closer and closer.
This is kind of recreating the Bob scene.
Yeah.
It's like Michael pretending to be the boyfriend,
right.
Like flirting a bit.
Michael's trying to cop a feel.
Yeah, definitely.
He doesn't actually, but like, he's trying. He's
like, booze, murder, murder.
Usually that's the tough decisions I have to think about day to day.
What?
But yeah. He puts his hand on her shoulder, and she doesn't turn around. And she's just there. And she starts talking to him and flirting with him and basically saying like, "Hey babe, we're gonna have to do this another night. Let's just get some breakfast after our shift ends. Like, we gotta go back to work. We're working in a fucking hospital. We should get back to work. We should stop fooling around. And he doesn't say anything. She's like, come on. And she starts playing with his hand a bit. She then starts sucking on his fingers a little bit, starts kissing his hands, and then turns around. And it's Michael. He grabs her by the back of the head and dunks her face and her whole head into the boiling hot water, repeatedly lifting her out and putting it back in, dunking her in and out. And every time he pulls her face back out of the water, it shows how burned her face is getting. And he repeatedly does this until her face just looks like dog food, essentially.
Do you think this would actually kill you?
This is a debated death in the Halloween franchise. Simply because, sure, he's like strong serial killer, whatever. His hand would be burning too.
Yeah, well, there's that. Like, okay, there's he gets shot in the head as well,
right,
like, and survives. But yeah, I did. Surely,
I think he drowns her too at the end there.
No, he leaves her out.
Okay,
like,
he just leaves her to
because you
cook.
get that visual. I feel if he left her in there, I'm just like, sure, you've got serious burns. I don't know if it would kill you, but I haven't seen this film since I was a kid,
right? And
this death stays with me. I remember this whole hot
right. Me too.
I don't know why you'd have the option of going to scalding with this water. What are these tubs used for?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is used for some other thing. I don't work in a hospital.
No.
Someone who's listening to this right now, tell us why there's these hot water tubs in these hospitals somewhere. Why do they have this? Or is this just made up for this movie?
Yeah.
Like, why? Is this actual tubs?
I've always had the same question with cars. Why do you have cars that can go 200 miles an hour if the speed limit's only 70?
To kill kids in Halloween masks.
True.
Obviously. It's a weapon. So he kills this nurse and this EMT. So other 2 deaths to your kill count there. But yeah, I always thought this was a gruesome death because it's like burning her face. And
there was a really good British series called Spooks. I believe it was called MI5 in the States. But there's one of they did Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones did Game of Thrones. As in your like beloved characters who are like, these are our leads for this show, and then they kill off.
Right, okay.
And there was a girl who, I think it's in the 3rd episode, is an MI5 agent. She's undercover, and she's in this kitchen. I can't remember the details, but the big baddie guy owns this restaurant or whatever. They're in the kitchen, and he realizes that she's a spook, an agent.
Sure.
And grabs her face and dips it in the deep fat fryer as it's boiling. And they do this sort of Halloween death, like they don't shy away from it. You see the skin.
God.
And this was quite a well-known actress, so you just assumed she'd be in it forever. Right. It's a really cool death. And
see, that would
definitely
probably kill you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would probably kill you. Being deep fried in hot oil.
Oh.
That's the way I would go out. McDonald's fries were the death of me. No, I know how I want to go out. I think most men agree with the way I want to go out.
You're gonna do that weird wanking choke?
What is that? No, what?
No,
what? No. Whoa, okay.
No, okay.
All right.
I
don't know. Halloween 2, continuing on. Dr. Loomis is now with the police officers. They reported a weird break-in at an elementary school. So they go in there and they find a classroom, and there's the word Samhain written on the walls, and which is like Halloween, essentially. Like goes back to ancient times of Halloween or something like that. And there's a knife, the kitchen knife that we saw earlier, stabbed through this picture, this drawing that says Judith Myers and something like that. So it's a little weird, but it's written there, and it says sister, written in blood. And Loomis is a little confused. But then someone comes and is there to talk to him. And it's this lady named Marion, and she says she's from Smith's Grove, and that Loomis has been ordered to come back straight away. And he's like, well, like, why? They're like, we need you back there right now. You need to come there. And he's like,
Nah, bro, I'm staying.
Yeah, like he doesn't want to do that, but they're basically saying, she says to him, well, actually, they're not asking you, they're ordering you. There's a marshal outside who's going to drive us. Like a cop is taking me and you back there. You're done with this. Like, Michael's dead, let it go. And he's like, oh, I don't know, guys. Like, whatever. So he's basically forced to go with this cop and her. But he's still confused to what's going on. And it cuts back to the hospital. Lori is there in her room, and she's visited by Jimmy, the EMT, and he says, hey, girl, I know I don't know you very well, but I hope you're all right. And realizes she's not responding to him. She may be dead. So he runs and gets help. The nurses go to find the doctors because they think Lori, might be dead or something.
And this is the doctor they alluded at earlier is drunk.
Right.
Like the first time we see him, he's like, yo, I need a lot of coffee.
Because it's Halloween night, The nurse goes to his quarters, his studies there, and he's like sitting on a couch watching TV. Or though it appears he is. She creeps up behind him, and as she gets closer, realizes that he's actually dead. And she goes in front of him to see him, and there's a needle stabbed through his eyeball.
Yeah, this is grim.
And as she realizes this and is in shock, is in all this horror, Michael Myers appears from behind and stabs a needle right through her temple, killing her dead.
It's gross.
Disgusting.
I thought this shot was really, really cool because you spilt over your coffee at this point, so we had to pause it. And we paused it at the perfect moment where Michael appears behind. And it's just really cool because you've got the lights, like this yellowy light flickering on Michael's
and it's his
face.
mask.
So you just see the mask in the background appear.
Yes, we did pause it because I spilled my coffee. Does my zebra carpet get added to your kill count? Because it may be it's the coffee stains. It's rip my carpet. But yeah, he kills this girl with a needle to her temple. So you're saying that is less gruesome than a hammer to the head? You're probably right.
The sound,
you're probably right.
Visual of the needle is
awful.
But the sound,
I don't like needles. I don't like needles at all.
It's when we watched that My Young Classic episode a few weeks ago where Mia Yim chopped the turnbuckle.
It was the sound.
That sound sticks with you. And that's why I'd say the hammer. There are some good deaths in this film.
Oh, well, she's dead. She did. Michael now is shown walking in the hospital.
I would say, though, I'd much rather go out like this. Just a needle and dead.
Done? Yeah, I guess so.
Pretty painless.
Yeah, I like that, yeah. Michael enters Laurie's room. He's got his blade in his hand. Notice he's not using a kitchen knife, mostly for his
he only used it for one.
Yeah, he's got this little, blade, like a hospital blade,
syringe.
Yeah, it's scary. He sees Laurie's body in the hospital bed, and he stabs the blankets. But he realizes it's not her. It's actually just a bunch of pillows she clearly made up to look like a body laying in the bed. He looks for her in the hospital, and it cuts to her slowly limping around in the hallway quietly because something told her that she just had to run. She doesn't know that he's here.
This almost backed up my theory from the first one where I don't know if Michael really wants to kill her.
Right.
Because how clever he is with a load of the deaths. And, this was the most mundane way of killing someone. They're under the covers and you stab through the duvet,
right.
No.
So wait, you're saying he knew it wasn't actually her?
I don't know. I just feel like she's the one he really is after.
Right.
If
well,
that
we
was
see
over
later
just then,
that is also it goes back to that near the end.
Yeah.
So yeah. So she's just limping around, and she finds this other room, and she finds a phone, and she realizes, the phones are cut. You can't call anyone, girl. You fucked. So Michael is now shown walking down the hospital corridors, and Laurie just decides to hide in this back room of another room, and she passes out. She closes the door and passes out. Another nurse, this nurse Jill, she's looking for the security guard, but she can't find him. But as she's looking for him, the cameras, the security footage are there, but the angle she's at, she can't see it, and it shows Michael walking down this one hallway which is the hallway she then walks directly to.
I thought that looked really cool. I liked watching it on the CCTV cameras.
Yeah. Watching like the security footage things is cool. She goes and she's walking. She gets scared by Jimmy, who bumps into her. Michael is watching them at this point. And Jimmy basically tells her to get into a car and go get police, because shit's getting weird here. He can't find people. The phones are cut. What's going on? Lori could be dead. We don't know. Just go get someone. So she goes into the parking lot and gets into a car. And Jimmy goes into another room and finds this other nurse just laid out on this like table or stretcher. And her arm has been put like an IV or something, and she's just been dripping her own blood out.
Now this is like the Linda death.
There's a lot of nurse.
This is kind of like mirroring the Linda death in the first one, where she's strapped on the bed and there's the grave onto her. This is where Michael gets creative. He's being artistic.
Cheeky. Yeah, he's being pretty cheeky here. So she just bled out here, which I don't know if that would actually happen. But again, we needed an actual doctor or nurse to come on and explain, because he sees this woman's body laid out and the blood has been dripping all over the floor, and then he freaks out and he slips on it. He falls and knocks himself out on the pool of blood here. It cuts back to the nurse Jill, who's now getting into a car, but the car won't start. So she gets out of the car and realizes that most of the cars in the parking lot, the tires have been all slashed.
With penises sprayed on all of them. Wait, no, that's something else.
That's American Vandal. She then runs back inside, and as she does into the hospital, she sees Lori in the hallway. She says, Lori, like, what are you doing? We need to get out of here. And as Lori is staring at her, Michael appears from behind Jill and kills her with that little knife, just like lifts her up basically from behind and stabs her and kills her, and then follows Lori. Lori, is trying to run, but she's like so injured from the night.
And still drugged up.
Yeah, she's pretty lit at the moment.
Because you see, they do this shot where it's like she sees her from like her point of view, and the edges of the screen are all blurry.
Yeah.
So
because she's lit. She's like running away through this hospital essentially, and she finds this like boiler room, and she sees the body of the security guard hanging here and freaks out, screams. Michael finds her, follows her, but Michael always walks slowly, like I always say. He's the slow walker, which is even more scary. You just know it's coming. He's following you. And she finds this like little window that goes into a side room in the hospital, so she goes through that. She sees this elevator, so she's pushing the button, and Michael's just following her, going towards her, and as she's waiting for the elevator, he turns a corner and sees her. It's a short hallway, and instead of running, he just slowly walks towards her. She gets in the elevator, and she manages to push the button, but it's not closing. You know that closed door when you don't want to share the elevator?
Or when you really need a pee, and it's on the 5th floor, and you're just waiting. There's something... This is in every horror film.
I feel like, was this like one of the first times this was used then? Because like, this is 1981.
It's very relatable. Like, I feel like being late to class or work or... needing the toilet or whatever, and there's that thing and the elevator never works when you want it to, and...
She's pushing it.
This is that times by a billion.
She's pushing it, and then he just barely makes it. The knife... and his bit of his hand are in the thing. Now, in 2018, when we're recording this, you think that elevators now would be like, oh, someone's trying to get in, better stop that.
He could have opened
he could have got it.
That open.
He could have got it.
He can do.
Yeah.
Again, does he want to kill her?
Oh, true. So she makes it. The elevator door closes, and she gets away. A side door, like the back door of the elevator, opens instead, and she runs through that and escapes the hospital, and then goes out into the parking lot, but realizes like she can't start the car, so she just hides in the car. It's something I would do. Like, oh, this guy's trying to find me in the hospital, I'm going to hide somewhere else, and he won't find me. And now it cuts to Dr. Loomis. He's with Marion and the police officer who is in the front seat driving, and they're taking him back to Smith's Grove. But as they are, he's going over the Samhain, the Halloween thing. He's trying to put it all together in his head, what's going on. And this is where she explains to him that Michael Myers the file was not fully given to him, to Loomis, and that, it was from the governor's office, and they finally opened it, and it reveals that that years ago, when Michael Myers killed his sister, there was also a baby sister that survived, and that Laurie Strode is that sister. And Loomis says, "Okay, well, if that's the truth, where was she taken tonight?" And they say, "Well, she was taken to the hospital." He says, "Well, we need to go there right now." And they said, No, like, she's fine, everything's fine. And he's like, No, we got to go there right now. What if, that's probably where he's gonna go. They say, No, Loomis, we got to take you back. This is where he pulls out his gun. Dr. Loomis pulls out his gun and says, "I hate to do this to you." He takes the officer's gun away from him while he's driving. He says, "We're going to the hospital and now drive me. I'm sorry to do this to you, officer, but we need to do it." And they're like, "Think about what you're doing, doctor." He's like, "No, think about what we're doing. We need to go there." And he's aiming it at the cop and he says, "You don't want to do this." He goes, and he shoots the gun through him.
He goes, "What is it you cops do? A warning shot!"
That would suck. In a car with the sound, it would kill your ears, dude. So it makes the cop swerve. He listens to Dr. Loomis and now is driving to the hospital. They're almost there. But Dr. Loomis, an OG, pulling out his gun when you need to. Pulling out the piece, Cuts back to Laurie. She's now in the car, and Jimmy gets into the car. And she's like, "Oh my God, Jimmy's here." But he's acting a little strange. He's not talking. He's not even moving, really. He's trying to start the car, but it's not. And then he passes out, but his head lands on the wheel of the car, right on the horn. And it's just...
Do you think this is just like concussion from...
I guess so.
He's not on the official death count list.
So he's just kind of...
So I think, because he slipped on the blood, didn't he? And cracked his head. I don't think he's dead here.
I don't think he's dead, but he's just out. And his head is on the horn, which is honking, which is giving away her hiding spot, essentially. So she realizes that and moves his body off the horn, but it was on for a pretty long time. Michael Myers probably heard it. So she is like so scared. She gets out of the car and she's like crawling, essentially, because she's still drugged, as we said. And as she's there, a car pulls up, and it's Loomis, Marion, and the police officer here. And they get out, and they're going into the hospital. But Laurie is trying to get their attention, but she can't. She can't get herself to scream or yell or anything.
I used to have night terrors where I couldn't scream.
Oh.
They're the worst. Like, when your voice is completely gone.
Right.
And I always find that scary.
The second they get into the hospital, she screams.
Yeah.
So Michael is there. He's behind her. He's following her. She runs to the door and starts banging on the door. They realize that and let her in.
I thought that was a cool reveal of Michael as well. Like, he keeps on finding the lights.
Right.
There's like a red light.
The aesthetic.
And on the white mask, it always looks cool.
He's like, "I gotta look good doing this."
Yeah.
If you're a killer, you gotta look good.
And I need that high-pitched synthy, like...
Yeah, exactly. Michael appears. He chases her. She runs, bangs on the door. They find her. They let her in just in time, and they lock these glass doors of the hospital. And Michael, he just stares and keeps walking and walking and walks right through a glass door.
Love it.
That's right. He walks through a glass door. Because why the fuck not? He's a beast. Loomis then draws his gun and shoots him a fuck ton, and Michael drops to the ground.
And the cop goes, "Are you authorized to use that?"
He's like,
"Why are cops so dumb in every horror film?"
Loomis is like, "Hey, he's don't go near him. He's still breathing." The cops is like, "What? Who is this him?" And they're like, "Yes, damn it!" Like, God. He sends Marion out to the car to radio more police officers, and she does. And Loomis says, like, "Stay away from him." And the cop is like then checking on him again, and Loomis yells, "Get away!" He says, "Oh, he stopped breathing. No, get away." And boom, Michael gets up, grabs him, and slits the guy's throat. Loomis and Laurie then start running away, and Michael gets up and chases them. They eventually end up in some sort of gas room or something. Loomis tells Laurie to take the other gun, the cop's gun. And she says, no, I don't want it. And he's like, take the gun. And she's like, no. So he puts it down in front of her in the corner there. Michael then looks through the little peephole kind of thing of the room, realizes they're in there, but it's a locked door. But it's a wooden door. His nemesis. He can get through these glass doors, but he can't get through the wooden doors. Oh, wait. Yes, he can. He breaks through this door with his bare hands like Hulk Hogan tearing through a t-shirt, but it's Michael Myers tearing through a fucking door of a gas room in a hospital. After being shot. This guy just doesn't fucking die ever. But maybe I speak too soon. He breaks in and Loomis shoots him, but his gun is out of bullets. Think about it. He shot him 6 times earlier in the night. And then
now wasted that warning shot.
Yeah, it was that warning shot.
Yeah.
It was that warning shot that costed Loomis his damn near life here.
But if he didn't shoot that, they might have not gone to the hospital.
You're right, you're right. It's a butterfly effect, my friend. Loomis realizes his gun is out, and Michael stabs him right in the gut, and then pays his attention to Laurie, who's just sitting there in the corner whimpering. However, she picks up the gun. Oh, wait, I'm forgetting about a part here that we mentioned earlier. Michael goes to stab her, but stops and lowers his hand with the knife, and then does this like head tilt.
Well, she says Michael.
Yeah. And then he lifts his head back up, lifts his hand back up, and goes to stab her. But it's like the rare moments where you see the human side of him. Is
she knows.
Maybe he doesn't want to kill her. Yeah. Does he not want to?
Shit. Like there's a moment's pause. Yeah.
Yeah. In the zombie one, he like doesn't kill her and takes her somewhere and tries to like show her that they're related and stuff. It's weird. I don't get it at all. It's like too over the top. It's ridiculous. So
like
here
on that ancestry website,
he's like, look, it's you and me. We're fucking related.
I don't care. You killed all my mates.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So he then raises his hand again and goes to stab her and kill her, but she shoots him twice right in the face. And he doesn't drop to the floor. Instead, he puts his hands to his face, and we see the holes in the mask, the eye holes, just drip out blood.
This looks awesome.
Yeah, this is a really memorable thing from this movie is this mask. You can actually buy this version of the mask, where it's the Halloween 2 version where there's like blood dripping from it. It's a terrifying thing. But it did not kill Michael. It did not. His mask is now dripping blood, but he starts swinging for Laurie still. So he can't see, but he's swinging, trying to kill her. And I don't know about you, but if I have a knife in my hand and I swing, no matter how hard I swing, no noises are made. But when Michael Myers swings a knife, it goes...
I do like it, though. I thought it added to... Yeah, continue.
He's repeatedly trying to swing while he's blinded for Laurie. And this is where Dr. Loomis, he's alive. He gets up and he grabs Laurie and he's like, it's okay, it's going to be okay. And he's still swinging for Loomis and Laurie, whoever he can, but they're trying to avoid him. So Loomis starts to undo all these gas containers, essentially. There's all these different gases. It says oxygen, ether, whatever all these things are. Again, I'm not a doctor or a nurse. I don't know what the fuck kind of gases or what they're doing here or why this is gonna do what they're trying to do. But it's a scary movie. So Loomis and Laurie now are turning the knobs of all these canisters, these gas canisters everywhere. And then he yells at Laurie to get out of here. He says, go. Run away.
This is where I liked the sound effect of the knife being added, because at this your senses are kind of being like overwhelmed because each cylinder that they do, the gas noise gets louder. You still hear this swooshing,
right?
And you can imagine like Michael being blind. Just this more so than just like blowing him up. The noise is like overpowering his senses, so he's blinded even further.
Right, exactly. So he's just like still swinging and everything. And Laurie eventually does listen to Loomis, and she runs away. And this is where Loomis just stays there, and he says, "Michael, it's time. It's time, Michael." And he has a lighter, and he flicks it, and boom, The whole room explodes. Laurie had already escaped the room, and she's further down this hallway, this corridor, and the explosion happens, and she sees it all happening behind her, and she kind of drops to the floor here.
What I did like is they did show earlier in the film when he was with the cop, I believe, they showed him pull out the lighter.
Right.
It's always important, I think, in films to just introduce the little things. It's Chekhov's gun, like if a gun's introduced at the beginning of the film, or if a table's pulled out in a match. You know someone's going through that table. So I liked...
You knew Loomis had the light.
You knew he had the lighter from earlier in the film, and it was very subtle. Like, he didn't even light a cigarette or anything.
Maybe he stole it. Maybe he's a lighter thief.
Yeah.
Fucking lighter thief. No, well, thank goodness he did. Because this explosion of this crazy thing in this hospital, there's fire everywhere, things are falling, and Laurie is just there. But of course, if we learn anything from these fucking movies, Michael Myers does not die, and he's walking. He's shown coming out of the flames, walking slowly, and still a little breathing. But he doesn't get very far, and then he finally drops to his knees and drops to the floor, and it's just the shot here of him burning. Michael Myers is dead. Rip! Rip! He's finally dead.
Yeah, or at least for a couple of years.
For sure. Laurie is now shown being loaded into an ambulance, and all the news media and these cops everywhere is just all around the hospital, and people are freaking out. Laurie gets loaded into an ambulance, and it's driving away. And the shot of her is just like this face that she's not happy. She's just still like wondering what if, essentially. That's what she's wondering. And it's like she's pondering, wondering, is he dead? And then it cuts to Michael's mask burning and burning and burning. And then it cuts to Mr. Sandman and the credits. Is Michael Myers dead? Yes, I guess.
We won't find out for another 7 years.
Is that when he returns?
1988 is the next one.
So that is Halloween 2.
Yeah.
Following this, they do go off the John Carpenter's like universe, essentially, of Halloween things. And they create Halloween 3, The Season of the Witch, which has nothing to do with anything from the first two movies. It doesn't even... nothing. And then they realized that was a terrible idea, and then created Halloween 4, which is the return of Michael Myers.
Yeah. I really like the idea of the anthology.
Me too.
I think it would have been really cool if you had a few of these films set on the same night, like set it 1978, but somewhere else. You can see the little reports of what's happened in another film.
Right.
And then if you have a film later on that kind of ties them together would be awesome. But obviously the reception wasn't good for the third one.
No, it wasn't well executed. Do you think that this movie, Halloween 2, was well executed? As a sequel, we just watched the first one, did a review, and now we watched this one. What do you think?
I thought it was. I think hindsight is a remarkable thing. But as I was saying, watching the first one, there were a load of questions I had.
Yes.
That felt odd to just end it there. I thought it kind of warranted a sequel.
Right.
And I feel the stuff with the sister-brother connection being introduced here. As I said, Laurie not actually finding out that was the case in this film.
Sure.
I think it kind of does warrant another sequel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there were ever talks of a trilogy, and because Jamie Lee Curtis didn't want to do another one, whether that
came into effect,
or what, I'm not sure. But I feel there were enough sort of lingering questions after this film that would have made me at the time want a third one. I have no idea how Loomis survives, because he's obviously in the next few ones.
If you remember, though, when he comes back in the other ones with the younger girl, he's like burned. His face is like burned and stuff, yeah.
But the fact that the unstoppable Michael Myers dies, apparently, well, he doesn't, but he kind of dies. Right. And Loomis has been stabbed and survived.
Well, we can cross that bridge if we ever decide to watch
maybe
all
next
these
year.
fucking movies.
But no, I actually enjoyed this film.
I'm a huge, like, again, I'll go over how big of a fan I am of these movies. Specifically, the first original one. I'm very obsessed with. They got the poster in the house. We got all that shit. But this one, when I watched them growing up, I always thought this was a strong sequel. When it comes to sequels, this one has, like, we just talked about all these gruesome deaths. But this is also what it kind of sets up, like, these sequels follow this one.
Yeah,
like,
and
dead on, more than the original.
I'd be interested how many... Because the original one, sure, you've got, like, the guy stuck in the wall. The deaths are pretty much just stabbings. There aren't that many, like, overly ambitious or creative deaths in the first one.
Right.
He only kills 3 people. 4 if you count the sister, I believe.
No, he kills the boyfriends and stuff. And
hang on, there's...
In the first movie?
There's Bob, Annie, Linda. Who else does he kill? I think they mentioned in this one the body count's only 3.
I'm sure there's probably more.
I do have a body count thing up.
But yeah.
Oh, yeah, he kills a few more. But the body count's 7. And that includes his sister and a dog.
Right. Oh, he didn't kill any dogs in this movie. So, Pete is happy about that, I'm sure. But he killed a lot more people in this movie. And there was way more gruesome deaths. 4. Like, he get the hammer.
He only kills 5 himself in the first one. But I feel the deaths are more ambitious in this, and you see that in a lot of sequels. Like, take the Saw movies; they become more about the deaths and less about the story.
Of course, that's scary movies.
But I do think a lot of the deaths actually do hold up in this.
Okay,
like
me too.
You still anything to do with the eyes, like that needle going into an eye, that will still make you squirm 30 years from now. Yeah. I think. As
hammer,
the sound of the hammer, like.
So you're still going with the hammer's the best death.
I think there's a lot of good deaths in this.
I think I like the hammer too because again it's the back of a fucking hammer.
Yeah.
God damn, and the sound definitely does. But
everyone's
I think
used a hammer. Everyone's accidentally smacked their thumb with a hammer. Like,
make sure you tweet us at Davie Portman because I want to know if people think the hot water death in this is the gruesome one because she's just burning. You see her burn it. So let us know what your favorite death of this movie is. If we can, we will probably continue to review more movies in the future. If we do more horror movies, kill counts are definitely something we need to keep.
I think next we'll probably move away from horror. We have promised a Power Rangers review, which I think will be our next one.
Yes, so we should do
the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
The movie.
Right. The first movie.
The movie with the ooze.
With Ivan Ooze. So make sure you refresh yourself with that.
Yeah, because we're doing this right now. It's Halloween as we're recording this. But Halloween will come and go. Yeah. So we're going to continue doing some things. So let us know, again, at Davie Portman. Let us know what movies you'd be down to listen to. Again, always on our upNXT feed. Post Wrestling upNXT on our feed. Always free, our movie reviews and our upNXT shows and stuff. But before we sign off, we have 2 little things of feedback, I think.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the body count on this. Sure. According to the official Halloween Wikipedia
There's a Halloween wiki?
Yeah.
Of course. Of course there is.
The body count is 10, according to the police.
The body count is, but the kills.
Police in the movie say the body count is 10. And according to Wikipedia for this movie, the body count is 10. But one of those deaths was caused by Deputy Ramsey.
Deputy Ramsey. Ruining the perfect 10.
Deborah survives the film version, but dies in the novel. But obviously, if you count Michael and Loomis, if you consider this the end of the story, the death count is 12.
Wow. But Michael kills 9 people.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of people dying in the movie.
It's a lot more than the first one.
Damn.
Right, let's head over to feedback.
So forum.postwrestling.com is where we usually do our upNXT feedback threads for any time people watch NXT. You can comment and questions. So we put one up for this movie to see if we had any bites, and we had two. So I'll read the first one if you want, and then you read the second one. Tyler from Orlando. I just rewatched this movie a couple of weeks ago, and I thought it was good overall. Michael Myers did his normal characteristics that made him a good slasher. However, I have a couple issues, as many do with this film. The random kill where they showed the nurse strapped to a bed with the IV attached to her and dripping blood just didn't make any sense to me. What was Michael trying to accomplish here? A dead body is just as scary as a dead body dripping blood from an IV.
I think this was trying to, as many sequels do, like callbacks to the original. I feel this was that callback to the girl in the bed.
I think this was also like a kind of a dumb kill too. I think you're right, because it's just like dripping blood. But yeah, it was the call because the laid out kind of thing. Like he's being cheeky essentially.
Yeah.
He says, also, having done 5 years of security related work myself, that security guard did every single thing wrong in his situation. Also, why is he fat? Why are they always fat? Nice. Amazing. You tell us, Tyler from Orlando, why are security guards always fat in movies? If I was a security guard in real life, which, I thought about sometimes getting my security license. I'm a big dude. I could do it. Why are security guards always doing the wrong things?
Yep.
Come on. He says, lastly, if we are to believe that Michael is a human being who is simply sadistic and wants to kill people, then he shouldn't survive headshots from a revolver and being set on fire.
But Loomis keeps on saying he's not a human.
He's not a man. He's evil. That being said, it's still a 1980s horror film, which means overall it gets a thumbs up from me. Yeah, 1981 horror film. This is a classic.
I think this really holds up.
It does.
Actually, as
It does. You watch any horror movie now that's old, you're going to laugh at a lot of points. You watch a lot of movies that are made now, you're going to laugh at them. Horror movies always have that cheesy factor as well, but this one holds up in my opinion.
We've got Real US Champ. One of the better sequels in the series. Best scene in the movie was when a doctor finds a nurse being drained and then slips on the blood. How did Michael do that? Also forgot Laurie saw Michael at the mental hospital. Wow, which has never been covered except the mother seeing him in the Rob Zombie.
Right, also like in the flashback thing, it shows her seeing him. Did we miss that, I guess?
Missed that, I think.
Yeah, in the zombie one, like the mom goes a lot and visits him a bunch, but yeah.
I found it odd. I would have thought we'd have had a few more of those, those kind of dream things, the memories. Normally when you see that kind of that like concept in films, they sort of sprinkle it a bit throughout. Whereas we only really had those
twice,
2 scenes.
Yeah, and they were really brief.
They were very brief.
So it's a horror movie. They're like, we want to fucking kill people, and that's it. Like, who cares about a story? Essentially, seems to be a lot of horror movies.
So that was Halloween 2.
Yeah,
I remember really enjoying it as a kid. I wasn't actually expecting to enjoy it as much as I did this time. I think it's a strong sequel.
It is. I always enjoyed this one. I mean, I have the DVD combo, which is this one and Halloween 3, which I should just burn that disc.
Just give it to me.
No, I'm not going to watch it. You will fall asleep within 10 minutes of that movie. I highly suggest that. However, then there's like a bunch of sequels after that, and then years later, Jamie Lee Curtis comes back for H2O, and they pretend like those other sequels never existed. But then, so think about it. There's that sequel, plus that sequel, and then you go all the way to the new Halloween that just came out.
H2O, isn't it revealed she faked her death? Like, it's revealed in 4 that she died in a car crash, and I think in H2O it revealed that she faked her death.
Yeah.
So I think they still kind of acknowledge 4 till 6.
I don't know if they do, but I know in the newest one, they don't acknowledge any of them, including the one we just watched. So there's different timelines.
The latest one, it's only the first one.
Yeah, there's a lot of timelines, I guess, in this world of Halloween, which is very strange. The Halloween universe, before universes were cool. And I always think this one holds up. I haven't seen it in a few years, but I still enjoy it. It's still a lot of fun to watch. Like one of our people said, it's an 80s horror film, so thumbs up from me. I really like this movie. Go check it out. Especially, it's Halloween, so if you're listening to this, you're probably listening after Halloween, but yeah. But thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. So as I said, we'll announce a date hopefully soon when we're going to put up the Power Rangers podcast, so make sure you get that watched. I don't know if it's on Netflix. I know some of the Power Rangers films are on Netflix. But if not, there are other ways.
You should own the Blu-ray, is what I say. It's a masterpiece.
But thank you for listening. People are sending us suggestions. People have sent us a load of horror film suggestions.
Right.
But anything, and not even movies. Short TV series or albums you think we'd like, or anything. Like we're going to cover whatever kind of we fancy. And
I have a feeling a lot of people want to hear us do the Power Rangers movie because a lot of our listeners are like us, are kind of like grew up watching that or were fans of that. So if you want to go around that route as well, kind of the millennial movies or something.
I kind of like sort of the kind of nostalgia feel of revisiting something you loved when you were younger and seeing why did I love it so much and should I have loved this? Did I love this because I was 8 or like
people a lot of people feel about Hulk Hogan?
Yeah.
They loved him when they were 8.
I don't think I've ever loved Hulk Hogan.
Oh, well, all right, we'll get out of here. So that was Halloween 2. Check out our first review of the first Halloween movie. Be sure to listen to us every Thursday, up next on Post Wrestling, postwrestling.com, Stitcher, iTunes. Give us a review, give us a rating, all that stuff. Thank you. Check out our other reviews that are coming in the near future on our feeds, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Braden,
at Davie Portman.
And thank you for listening. Goodbye. Be safe. Happy Halloween.
Ahoy!
Mr. Sandman.
Yes?
Bring us a dream. Give him a pair of eyes with a come hither gleam. Give him a lonely heart like Pagliacci. And lots of wavy hair like